A heartbreaking news is coming to your home. The one who hurt you. My child, come closer. Sit here with me for a moment. I need you to listen, really listen, because what I am about to tell you is going to feel heavy at first, like a stone dropped into still water. I won't rush. I won't shout. I will hold your hand through every word, the way I have always held you, even when you couldn't feel me. There is news coming to your door soon. Very soon. Maybe today, maybe tomorrow, maybe in the quiet of a night when you think you are alone. It is heartbreaking news, yes, but it is also the kind of news that changes everything afterward. And before you ask, no, it is not about death. Not the way you fear. Breathe with me now. In and out. Good. You know that person. The one who hurt you so deeply that sometimes, even years later, the memory still steals your breath. The one whose words cut like knives on the days you were already bleeding. The one who left you on the floor, wondering why love could feel so much like punishment. You remember the nights you cried until there were no tears left, the mornings you put on a smile that felt like a mask made of broken glass. You remember how you begged the sky for answers and heard only silence. You have carried that wound for a long time. You tried to hide it. You tried to forgive too quickly so the pain would stop. You tried to forget. You told yourself you were strong, that you were over it, that you didn't need justice or closure or even an apology. But deep inside, in the softest part of you that still believes in goodness, a tiny voice kept whispering, "Why? Why did they do that to me? Didn't I deserve better? I saw every tear. I counted every sleepless night. I was there when you forced yourself to eat even though your throat was closed with sorrow. I was there when you smiled at people who had no idea you were dying inside. I never left you. Not once. And now something is shifting. The one who hurt you, they are not the same anymore. I need you to hear me gently, because this is the part that might shake you. They have been walking their own dark road since the day they turned away from you. At first, they felt nothing. They told themselves they were right. They built walls of pride and lies to protect the story they wanted to believe about themselves. They laughed louder, they moved faster, they surrounded themselves with noise so they wouldn't have to listen to the quiet scream inside their own heart. But walls crumble, my love. Noise fades. And one day, maybe on an ordinary afternoon, maybe in the middle of a dream, they saw your face. Not the angry face they expected. Not the broken face they left behind. They saw the face you had before they hurt you. The soft one. The trusting one. The one that loved them without conditions. And in that moment, everything they had buried came rushing up like a wave they could no longer outrun. They remembered the exact day they chose cruelty over kindness. They remembered the sound of your voice cracking. They remembered walking away while you begged them to stay. And for the first time, they felt it. Not just as a distant memory, but as a living pain in their own chest. They felt what they did to you. Truly felt it. They have not slept well since then. They wake up with your name on their lips like a prayer they don't deserve to speak. They see you in every crowd. They hear your laugh in quiet rooms and it haunts them. They have tried to drink it away, work it away, love it away with someone new, but nothing works. Because the truth is stubborn, and the truth has finally caught them. They know now. They know they were wrong. They know they broke something beautiful. They know they took your light and threw it away like it was nothing, when it was everything. And that knowing, it is destroying them in the gentlest way possible. Not with hate. Not with revenge. But with regret so deep it feels like drowning in slow motion. They cry now, the way you cried then. They sit alone in their car and sob until their ribs hurt. They write letters they never send. They whisper, "I'm sorry," to empty rooms, hoping somehow the wind will carry it to you. They have become the wounded one. Not because someone hurt them the way they hurt you, but because they finally understand how it feels to be the cause of someone else's pain. My sweet child, come sit with me for a moment, the way you did when you were small and your hands were still soft from innocence, when the world had not yet taught you its cold edges. Sit, not because you are fragile, but because you have carried yourself alone for so long that you deserve a place to rest. You deserve a voice that knows how to speak to you gently, the way you always wished someone would. And today, I have something to tell you, something that has been moving toward you like a slow, inevitable tide, something you may have felt in your bones long before you had words for it. There is heartbreaking news making its way to your doorstep. It is news wrapped not in danger, but in the trembling truth of another person's conscience. You know the one I'm talking about, the one whose absence carved itself into you like a second shadow, the one who taught you the shape of longing and the weight of unanswered questions. That person, the one you loved once with a heart too pure for what they gave you in return, is coming back into your orbit. Not to reclaim you. Not to fix what they shattered. Not even to re-enter your life. They are coming only because the truth has become too heavy for them to carry alone. They will reach out. Maybe in a quiet, hesitant message that they rewrite a dozen times before pressing send. Maybe in a phone call placed at an hour when the world feels forgiving and dim. Maybe they will stand at your door, hands shaking, throat tight, eyes stripped of the armor they once hid behind. They will not bring rehearsed excuses or half-hearted reasons. They will not attempt to convince you of their change or their suffering. They will not ask for your help, because something inside them finally understands that what they broke cannot be undone with borrowed words. They will come only to say what they owe you, what you waited years, perhaps decades, to hear. I was wrong. I hurt you. I am so deeply sorry. And I know now. I know what I did. I know how it shaped you. I know how my choices wounded someone who deserved so much better. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't expect a response. I just needed you to know that I finally see it. And I live with the weight of it every single day. And you must understand this, because you've wondered for so long. They will say these words not with the easy tone of someone seeking redemption, but with a voice that will crack under the truth of it. Because speaking it out loud will make what they did real in a way it has never been before. Real is a terrifying thing for someone who has spent so long running, denying, justifying, hiding. But reaching this moment they thought they could avoid forever, has stripped them bare. When they finally stand before you, you will see someone who wears the same face you once loved, but whose inner landscape has changed. They will look smaller, not in stature, but in spirit, as though regret has eroded parts of them they never expected to lose. This is the moment you have dreamed of in the quiet corners of your mind, the moment you imagined during nights when the ache of unanswered pain kept you awake. The moment when they would finally see you, truly see you. When the fog of their denial would clear and they would fall to their knees with the truth spilling out of them. You imagined it in so many ways. Sometimes with anger, sometimes with longing, sometimes with a desperate desire for validation that you were not the crazy one, not the overly sensitive one, not the one who should have moved on by now. You imagined it because you were human, because hurt demands acknowledgement, because love that was twisted into pain leaves behind questions that beg to be answered. And now, that moment is coming. It is approaching slowly, deliberately, almost tenderly, as though the universe itself has decided that you have waited long enough. But listen to me now, my beloved. Lean in a little closer. There is something only I can tell you, something you may not have realized despite all your healing, all your growing, all your becoming. This moment, this long-anticipated confession, this apology that seemed like the missing piece of your soul, this moment is not for them. It was never for them. It is for you. You have believed for so long that your healing depended on hearing those words. That without their apology, a part of you would remain perpetually fractured, like a cracked mirror reflecting a distorted version of who you were before the betrayal. You imagined that as long as they refused to acknowledge the wreckage they left in your chest, you would stay tethered to the ghost of that past self. The one who was too tender for the sharp edges of the world, too trusting for the hands that promised safety and delivered devastation. You thought the apology was the key, the final missing piece that would unlock the door to freedom and let you step fully into the light again. But you were wrong, my love, and beautifully, breathtakingly so. Look at yourself now. Truly look. Not with the eyes that once searched for validation in their reflection, but with the eyes you have earned through nights of silent screaming and mornings of forcing yourself out of bed when every cell in your body begged to stay buried under the weight of what they did. Look at the life you have built from the ashes they left scattered across your heart. Look at the way you learned to breathe again even when grief sat heavy on your chest like an uninvited guest who refused to leave. Look at how you taught yourself to inhale without flinching, to exhale without collapsing, to exist in a body that once felt like a crime scene. Remember those first months? When every song reminded you of them, when every familiar street corner felt like a landmine, when the mere sight of a coffee shop you once shared could send you spiraling back into the moment everything shattered? You thought you would never escape that loop. You thought the pain had carved permanent residence in your bones. But look at how you kept walking anyway. Look at how you forced your feet forward even when they felt made of lead. Look at how you smiled at cashiers and answered, "I'm fine," when friends asked how you were, not because you were lying, though sometimes you were, but because you were protecting the fragile seedling of hope growing somewhere deep beneath the ruins. You did that. Not them. Never them. You stitched yourself back together with threads they never offered you, threads made of midnight conversations with friends who stayed on the phone while you cried, threads made of therapy sessions where you finally said the things you had swallowed for years, threads made of books that understood your pain better than any human ever could, threads made of solitary walks where you whispered affirmations to yourself like secrets you were only just learning were true. You learned to hold your own broken pieces without cutting your hands on the edges. You learned that healing is not a straight line but a spiral. Sometimes you revisited the same pain from a higher vantage point, seeing it smaller beneath you, understanding it differently, carrying it lighter. Look at the relationships you have nurtured since then. The ones where you showed up terrified of being too much and discovered you were exactly enough. The ones where you learned that love doesn't have to hurt to be real, that affection can be gentle and still be deep, that someone can choose you every single day without making you beg for the privilege. Look at the boundaries you taught yourself to set. That no that once stuck in your throat now flows freely from your lips, the way you can love someone fiercely while still protecting your peace, the way you learned that walking away from what diminishes you is not abandonment but self-preservation. Look at the love you continued to give even after they taught you that love could betray. That is perhaps the most miraculous part. They took your trust and twisted it into something unrecognizable, yet you did not let their poison seep into your source. You kept your heart open. Not naively, not the way you once did, offering it without discernment, but wisely, carefully, courageously. You learned the difference between walls and boundaries, between caution and cowardice, between protecting yourself and punishing the world for what one person did. You became someone who could be hurt again, because to love is always to risk hurt, but who would never again lose themselves in someone else's storm. And the hope, the stubborn, trembling hope you protected with both hands when everything in you wanted to let it die. Do you remember how small it felt at first? How you had to cup it like a candle flame in hurricane winds, shielding it from your own despair? You fed it with tiny acts of defiance. The plants you watered even when you felt dead inside, the journals you filled with dreams you weren't sure you still believed in, the future plans you made even when tomorrow felt impossible. You refused to let their darkness extinguish your light, even when your light flickered so weakly you could barely see it yourself. You carried your own broken heart, carefully and stubbornly, until it began to beat again with a rhythm they would never understand. You learned strength without becoming hardened. Your hands can still hold a trembling bird without crushing it, your voice can still speak softly to someone in pain, your heart can still break open for the suffering of strangers. You maintained your tenderness without becoming naive. You see people clearly now, perhaps for the first time, seeing both their beauty and their brokenness without needing to fix either. You developed resilience without losing your softness. Your tears still come easily, but now they come from depth rather than devastation, from overwhelming love rather than overwhelming loss. What they destroyed, you rebuilt tenfold. What they abandoned, you nurtured into something more beautiful than it ever was with them. What they misunderstood about you, your depth, your loyalty, your capacity to love fiercely and forgive slowly, you finally understood yourself. You became your own safe place. You became the person you once begged them to be for you. And now they come. They come with the weight of years pressing down on their shoulders, with eyes that have finally seen what they refused to see, with voices that tremble the way yours once did when you begged for acknowledgement that never came. They come carrying the apology you once would have sold your soul to hear. They come humbled by time and consequence, by the natural law that says what we refuse to face eventually faces us. They come because the universe, in its infinite honesty, has returned their actions to their doorstep, and they finally understand the magnitude of what they lost. And you will realize something that will surprise even you. You do not need their apology anymore. Not the way you once did. Not the way that would have felt like oxygen after years of drowning. The desperate, grasping need has transformed into something quieter, something that belongs entirely to you. Perhaps once upon a time, their words would have been the validation that you were not crazy, that what happened was real, that your pain was justified. But you have already validated yourself. You have already borne witness to your own suffering and your own triumph. You have already named what happened without needing them to agree. You have traveled miles in the landscape of your own heart. Miles through valleys of grief and mountains of self-discovery, miles they will never walk, miles they will never comprehend. When they speak the words you once rehearsed in your head 1,000 times, "I'm sorry, I was wrong, I see now what I did, I understand the pain I caused," you will feel something. Maybe a wash of sadness for the relationship that could have been if they had chosen growth sooner. Maybe a flicker of pity for the prison of guilt and regret they have finally entered, understanding too late what their avoidance cost them. Maybe a soft, surprising compassion for a human soul finally facing their own reflection after years of running from it. Maybe you will feel the ghosts of old wounds stirring, not because you are unhealed but because some scars retain memory in their tissue. Or maybe you will feel nothing at all. Not the numbness of suppression, but the profound quiet of someone who has already done the work. The quiet of someone who has cried all the tears that needed crying, who has screamed all the rage that needed releasing, who has sat in the darkness long enough to find the light within it. The quiet of someone who has already closed the book, even if they didn't realize the final chapter had been written years ago in the privacy of their own becoming. This is what makes me proud of you beyond the capacity of language. You did the hardest part alone. You forgave, not because they deserved it, but because you deserved peace. Forgiveness was never about them earning it, it was about you refusing to let their actions keep renting space in your heart. You let go, not because they asked you to, but because carrying the weight of what they did was suffocating the person you were meant to become. You released the version of them you had constructed in your mind, the one who would eventually see, who would eventually return, who would eventually make it right, and you made room for the truth. They were never that person, and you never needed them to be. You rose, not to prove them wrong, though they were wrong in ways they are only now beginning to understand, but because your spirit was too vast, too resilient, too stubbornly alive to stay diminished by someone else's smallness. You became someone whose heart is stronger than revenge. You could have destroyed them with the truth of what they did, but you chose protection over punishment, softer than bitterness. You refused to let their poison change your essential nature, wiser than the wounds you once carried. Every scar became a lesson, every wound a classroom where you learned the curriculum of your own worth. When the moment comes, and it will come, because regret always finds its way home eventually. Remember the truth that has always lived in your bones, even when you couldn't feel it. You do not owe them absolution. You do not owe them kindness, though you may choose to offer it from the overflow of your healing rather than the depletion of your wounds. You do not owe them closure, conversation, comfort, or reconciliation. You do not owe them the version of you that once would have done anything for their approval. You owe them nothing. You owe yourself everything, the honesty of where you now stand, the protection of the boundaries you fought so hard to establish, the preservation of the peace you have earned through blood and tears and stubborn, relentless hope. If you choose to speak, let your words rise from the sacred place inside you that is already whole. Let them be calm, grounded, sure, not performative kindness but authentic presence. I hear you, you might say. I'm glad you found this understanding, though I'm sorry it took you so long. I wish you healing. And if your voice trembles, it will not be from the old pain but from the magnitude of your own growth, from the release of finally speaking from a place of power rather than pleading. If you choose silence, let it be the most powerful silence of your life. The silence of someone who no longer needs to justify their survival, who no longer needs to explain their worth to the person who once made them doubt it. Silence can be mercy. Silence can be boundary. Silence can be the period at the end of a sentence you finished writing years ago. There is no right response to freedom. Your body will know what it needs. Let tears fall if they come. They are not regression but release, the final cleansing of waters that have already carried you across the widest ocean of grief. Let your lips curl into a soft smile if your heart feels unexpectedly light. There is no shame in joy, even in the presence of someone who once stole yours. Let your hands tremble or stay steady, your breath catch or flow freely. You have earned the right to respond exactly as you are, without performance, without apology. You are not the person they hurt anymore. That version of you exists only in photographs and memories and the echo of old songs. The person standing here now has been forged in fire and emerged not burned but radiant. You have integrated every broken piece into something whole and holy. You have alchemized pain into wisdom, betrayal into boundaries, abandonment into self-reliance, grief into gratitude. You have become someone who knows their worth not because someone finally acknowledged it, but because you have lived it into existence through every hard-won choice to keep going. The storm is almost over, little one. The rain that fell on you for so long, relentless, drowning, seemingly endless, is falling on them now, as it must. The universe is not cruel, but it is impeccably just. It returns every seed to the soil it came from. Their avoidance has finally caught up with them. Their refusal to see has finally blinded them to everything but the truth. Their carelessness has finally left them careless of their own peace. And you stand in the sun. Not the sun that rises for everyone, but the sun you made for yourself out of fragments of hope you refused to surrender, out of stubborn dreams you watered with tears, out of the quiet, ferocious belief that life could still be beautiful even after everything you endured. You built this light with your own hands when everything was dark. You tended it when it was barely a spark. You protected it when the winds of despair tried to blow it out. This sun is yours, earned through every morning you woke up when you wanted to die, every night you went to bed proud of yourself for surviving another day, every moment you chose yourself when the easier choice would have been to disappear. When they stand before you with their regret, they will be standing in the light you created without them. They will see what their darkness cost them. They will understand, too late, that they lost not just you but the best parts of themselves when they chose harm over healing. And you will know, with a certainty that lives in your marrow, that their realization changes nothing about your worth. It never did. Your value was never contingent on their ability to see it. Your healing was never dependent on their willingness to participate. Your freedom was always yours to claim, and you claimed it spectacularly, one brave breath at a time. Close the door if that is what your spirit needs, gently, without anger, without triumph, without malice. Close it knowing that doors that need to stay closed will stay closed, not because you are weak but because you are wise. Walk away knowing that every step takes you further into the life you deserve, the life you built, the life that is waiting for you with open arms and sunlight and love that chooses you as fiercely as you have learned to choose yourself. Or leave it cracked open if that feels true, not for them, but for the version of you who once needed to know that justice exists, that people can change, that the story doesn't always end with the villain unpunished and the hero unvalidated. Whatever you choose, know this: you are already healed. The scars remain, yes, beautiful, honest reminders of what you survived, but they no longer bleed. The wounds have closed. The heart that was shattered has been remade stronger at the broken places. The girl who once begged for acknowledgement has become the woman who needs nothing from anyone to know her own worth. Breathe, my love. The moment is coming. The words you once would have traded years of your life to hear are finally being spoken. But you have already written the ending. You are whole. You are radiant. You are free. And nothing, not their regret, not their realization, not their long-delayed apology, can ever take that away from you. You did it without them. You did it for you. And that, my darling, is the most beautiful victory of all.